BigTown TV is back with another story of a very courageous boy called Fiston. His mother unfortunately died while giving birth to her first child. The firstborn of the children is the young man that we are about to meet shortly. He dropped out of school for 2 years. Him, his sisters, and his father all went to live to the streets after the mother died. It was a time of pain, loss, and confusion to his family. But it took a brave boy like him to keep trying and to believe he could be of help. Keep watching. Now, this young man called Fiston, he is the firstborn in his family of 4 children. In 2013, his mother passed away giving life to a baby, but luckily, the baby survived. This death shook the whole family because the heart of the family was normal. This sudden incident forced his family members onto the streets in a struggle to survive, since the father was somewhat acting lost and stuck in disbelief of his wife untimely death. In this crisis of a family without a mother and a delicate newly born who needs to be nurtured, his maternal grandmother from the village had to step in to look after the baby and one of the youngest of the girls. With the head of the family unable to lead his family due to intense grief, which resulted into lack of care and normal parenting to his children. In this dilemma, Fiston decided to hustle on the streets in search for something to eat. His main hustle of the day was to find and sell scrap metal to earn his meal of the day. This was not something he wanted to do, but it rather came out of a survival instinct. However, prior to this unfortunate event, the family was an average family and everything was well managed with the minimum resources available. As we speak, his father's state of depression went from bad to worse. He hardly takes responsibility of his children's needs. He's a drunkard. He spends most of his time playing betting games. He basically lives a carefree life, and most of the time, people feel pity of him and help him out. Fiston says that after his mother's death, he immediately knew that nobody was ready to treat him as she did. The idea of living on the streets came up when he had seen children of his age surviving on the streets, and he too was motivated to fight for himself and survive. It was a routine of scavenging for scrap metal, earning money to eat, and sleeping in trenches at nightfall. Fiston affirms that his scrap metal job earned him a meal of cassava bread and free sauce at a cost of 200 francs at one restaurant in Busanza village, a city suburb. He says each kilogram of scrap metal he collected earned him 180 francs. Now, without the 200 francs, he would wash dishes of the restaurant, which in return earned him a meal, and that made his day. On the contrary, the worst days were when the police came chasing after them to clear the streets. One scenario, when a person claimed that he had stolen an engine weighing 100 kilograms, which he cleverly says it was a ridiculous accusation because he can't even lift up such kind of weight anyway. Amazingly, luck was on his side because it made no sense. In another occasion, he claims he was falsely accused of stealing car body parts. He got arrested and was locked up at sector offices. But later on, the police found out that the accusation was baseless and he was freed, and he kept doing his hustle. In 2015, him and his sister went to Kayonza to live with their grandmother. When her grandmother discovered that he was homeless at 11 years old, he recalls that life became even more difficult in the village because they ate 1 meal per day. He fetched a can of 20 liters of water every day, and they shared the home with a young lady who had 6 children. With his grandmother as the lone breadwinner, this was totally different from his street life, where he made money every day. Now, during this relocation, both Fiston and his sister joined a local school in class 3. But in class 5, later on, he dropped out of school to become a houseboy, where he also learned how to bake pastries. Since he started hustling at a young age and he had no parental guidance to rebuke him, and with most street children who are desperate and bad behaved, Fiston says he went to the streets out of necessity and not at will. Therefore, his motivation was to earn a living, and therefore doing drugs was a no-go zone for him. He claims he has never stolen from people. However, he's honest to admit that his peers got involved in stealing, and hence he was regarded as an accomplice thief, but he personally did not steal other people's property. In a turn of events, Fiston discovered a lady who employed him to coach his child on mathematics in exchange for a meal. Even though he dropped out of school, he confidently boasts that mathematics was easy to him. At this stage, Fiston also stopped living on the streets because he also found a guardian who took him in and offered him a place to stay, and his equation of food and accommodation was solved almost at the same time. Now, apart from the mathematics and street smart abilities, Fiston also learned how to bake pastries while he was at Kayonza. One day he gave a business proposal to her new guardian, which she approved and helped him to buy baking utensils for his startup business. And later, he even received a second funding that enabled him to upgrade to a better kitchen equipment, and everything was smooth and rising. Suddenly, his guardian had a domestic conflict with her spouse that affected her lifestyle. In the midst of that crisis, Fiston's business went broke and he set up a retail shop, which the lady was handling. Unfortunately, the shop was mismanaged by the guardian and it went broke, as well as the pastries business. Basically, the lady attended the shop while Fiston baked the pastry. This was a blow to the young man who had invested to earn profits, but he was disappointed by the lady he trusted so much and respected like her own mother. After all the street struggle, today Fiston managed to resume his education in secondary school and rents a small room at $20, which he shares with his roommate, a fellow orphan whom he met at school who had nowhere to stay. Life is still a struggle because they both work part-time jobs to raise the rent fees. His roommate sells clothes in the evening while he bakes pastries. He says life in the ghetto is tough because he is sometimes obliged to skip classes just to secure the next meal and to ensure his landlord is paid on time. Despite the challenges, his school grades are good though, and he recently ranked among the best 6 in his class. Speaking of education, and besides rent and food, we were surprised that he also pays his own school fees. You may wonder how he does manage this as well. Well, public schools in Rwanda don't restrict school fees defaulters from writing their exams. However, they hold the report card until the school fees is paid. Now, to raise this money, Fiston skips classes to assist a local bakery to prepare pastries, and in a period of 2 to 3 months, he managed to save and pay a good portion of his school fees. Fiston agrees that living in the ghetto is no joke, and he says it's by the grace of God that sustains his needs. You might be wondering why the boy is living in a ghetto. Well, after the collapse of his shop, her former guardian was guilty to keep him around, but patient with him until he found his own place. Apparently, Fiston did not only rescue himself, but he also rescued his fellow teenager, who is also an orphan and like a brother to him. His roommate works late hours right after school, and they do this in turns to raise the rent. And at the moment, food and rent are his pressing issues. Challenges include lack of food and being labeled as an unruly teenager by neighbors, because such kind of cases are also common in the society. Now, besides baking pastries, Fiston is also a budding musical artist with 3 singles on social media. In an amazing way, music has brought him favor to earn some extra income. At the moment, he's promoting his latest single, You Are Special, which is about pressing on in life. His music inspiration is based upon his life experiences. His presence on social media has caught the eye of fans in the diaspora, and they are sending him money as a gesture of appreciation and motivation, in the end, enabling him to sort out some bills. He says, in life, one should not despair because of negative criticisms from the people around you. Basically, the song You Are Special is about self-belief.
Buri munsi uhorurira hoya nturekera uratera ntubona ukwikiriza ese warekeraho ko buri munsi uhorurira amarira sicyo gisubizo kibibazo wibaza buri munsi kuko burya nanjye mari kubwibyo nzaba mari uri special special.
The young fellow calls himself Fiston Starkid, and he believes that one day he shall become a big star because all stars shine, but only big stars do shine brighter. Check out his music on his YouTube channel and feel free to show some love. Whenever he's at home, he gets to spend some time with his pet, which was also surprisingly homeless, and it found its way to his house at the middle of the night. Him and his roommate took it in because it looked lost and abandoned. He named it Funny because it keeps a smile on his face. Today, the boy believes he can change the lives of people through his music, which is composed and performed by himself, and he emphasizes it's clean and suitable to all audiences. His dream is to help the less privileged and hurting children that he met while living on the streets. The untimely passing of Fiston's mother has pushed the boy to grow into a responsible teenager who thinks like a mature adult. At the moment, his father is concerned about his son's lifestyle, but unfortunately, he's still incapable to support him. The boy is still looking forward to live with his father, but at the moment, his focus is on education. However, he's willing to support his father and siblings once he gets a job. If you're touched by this story and you would like to support this young man and his family, don't hesitate to call him on the number below the link and offer any form of support that you may have. He is confident about his talent, and it would be a pleasure if you support him by promoting his social media channels. Viewers, we wish Fiston all the best in pursuing his education, his music, and his career. Keep supporting our future artists. Thank you for watching BigTown TV, and remember to subscribe. Stay fresh and view fresh.